Many people struggle deciding which programming language to learn, rightfully so. Oh my gosh, I already screwed up. And rightfully slow. Oh my God. What is wrong with me, dude? I just gotta think of depressing things, okay. Rightfully so, because it takes a lot of time to thoroughly learn a programming language. In this video, we're going to talk about if that initial investment should be put into C++. And if you're struggling with, should I learn any programming language? Heck yes, pick a language and start learning. That's the main takeaway I want you to get from this video. You spend too much time thinking about which one to learn, just pick one and learn it. So that's the first thing I want to mention. It's not like you're going to pick the wrong programming language and be permanently ruined or something like that. You can very easily pick up another programming language. You will tend to, when you're starting out, think in a certain programming language, whichever language you're most comfortable with. This doesn't necessarily mean the first programming language you learn. My first programming language I learned was PHP. Then I learned C#. I learned C# in much more detail than PHP, and that was kind of like the default language I thought in. When I learned any other language, I was always comparing it to the way I did C#. But as I've gotten better and I've learned more programming languages, I am much more effective at kind of switching the lens at which I look at things, so I can kind of put on my C++ glasses, take those off, put on my Python glasses, and I'm able to very easily switch between different languages. Once you just, get into the rhythm of things, you can do that very easily. I do occasionally find myself using syntax from another language accidentally, but I don't think it has anything to do with which language you choose first. So if this is your first programming language, just go with one. Most likely based on what you want to develop, so we're going to talk about later what you might build with C++, so then you can decide if C++ is the language choice for you. Which, by the way, I am currently working on a C and C++ master course, so if you do decide to learn C or C++, definitely get on my newsletter to be notified when that comes out. I'll leave a link down below in the description and pinned comment. We're also going to be talking about C++ versus Rust a little bit in this video, so stay tuned to the end for that if you are trying to decide which one you should learn. Alright, so now at this point you're convinced learning C++ isn't going to hurt you in any way. You can learn other languages. You don't have to just pick one. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should learn C++. And that's where I think it makes sense to think about what C++ is used for. If you can kind of think about where you see yourself, what kind of applications or what kind of companies you might want to work at, then you can decide if C++ is for you. First off, I think C++ was designed to be a lower level language for embedded systems, operating systems, and anything that needs very high performance. You might think, oh, that sounds boring, operating systems, gross, but there are a lot of other things. Most desktop applications that need high performance are going to be written in C++. So we're talking about photo editing software, video editing software, 3D modeling, web browsers. Video games is a huge one for C++. I'd say most people considering C++ are probably doing this for video games. So if you're watching this and that's what you're considering, I highly recommend C++. Things like database management systems, networking equipment, medical equipment, blockchain technology, these are all examples of things that could be made in C++. Let's go through a few specific examples to get a better idea of what applications out there are written in C++. Now, I'm just going to mention ahead of time, I got a lot of this from the internet. So if you work at one of these companies, you might know a little bit more details. Feel free to drop a comment. So the first one, editing software, the Adobe suite largely uses C++. So if you're using Adobe Premiere or Adobe Photoshop, that was written in C++. That's how they can have very decent software. Autodesk, very popular suite of 3D modeling tools, which is very fun to tinker with if you're looking to try that out. Those use the C++ programming language. Zoom, a software we've all become very familiar with, video communication, that is written in largely C++. Bitcoin, the first major cryptocurrency, that blockchain is written in C++. There are also a lot of other cryptocurrency projects that use C++, but Rust is definitely becoming more popular in the blockchain cryptocurrency space. Gaming, tons of games use C++. Just to pick one, I think World of Warcraft uses C++. And anything that comes from the Unreal Engine likely uses C++. That's the language you can use to customize your game And that basically makes a huge market for C++ developers wanting to get into game development. You can, of course, build games with other languages, whether that's JavaScript, C#, or probably anything, but I think many very serious games use C++ because they're using the Unreal Engine. So those were some real-world examples. Let's talk about now what I would not learn C++ for. And the very first obvious one, in my opinion, is web development. While there are emerging technologies to allow us to use various languages for web development, the reality is most likely if you're going to want to build websites, you should just learn JavaScript. C++ is not really designed for that. It's not ideal for that. I don't think it would make sense at all to go down the route of learning C++ if you want to build websites. JavaScript, you can get the front end and the back end with React, Node.js, or whatever tools you decide to use. Another example would be mobile development. Yeah, if you have a C++ application, you could probably get that to be powering a mobile application. However, I don't think of C++ as a mobile-first programming language. I would think of going with Swift for iOS, Kotlin for Android, or something like React Native or Flutter if you want to do some more cross-platform development. So I wouldn't choose C++ if I wanted to do mobile development. If I already knew C++, I would probably consider, hey, is there a way I could take my C++ code and use it in a mobile application? Another example would be data analytics. I think for anything AI or machine learning, I would just go with Python right out of the gate. Like I mentioned, for all of these, there are tools that work with C++, and a lot of the things that you could do with Python, you can do in C++, but if you're trying to decide which one to choose and you haven't already invested a significant amount of time into learning either, then I would just choose Python. If you're already a C++ master and you can tie into some of the tools out there like TensorFlow or whatever, go for it. And the last example I have is teaching kids, or maybe some people are just really brand new to computers and code. Probably wouldn't go with C++. It's quite verbose and has a lot of like code bloat, I guess you could say. I'd go with something like Python because it's very simple. You don't have to worry about a lot of the details that C++ requires you to understand, and it's just a lot easier to get started. Like, I taught a middle school coding class. If I had to teach these kids C++, they would have probably been disengaged in like 5 minutes. Now let's talk about the question you're probably here for. Should I consider Rust instead of C++? Is this the C++ killer? Am I future-proofing myself if I decide to go with Rust instead of C++? I think these are all really good questions, and I have no idea. I've honestly only really made it through like a Hello World with Rust, and I can give a little bit of insight based on what I plan on doing, which is working my way through C again, just to, get all that foundation for C++, and then basically deep diving C++, getting fully up to speed with that. And then once I'm bored with that, then I am planning on learning Rust to an equal level of competence. You can use my path as an example if you want to follow along. However, I don't necessarily think Rust is going to completely replace C++, and that's largely because I imagine there are applications out there that C++ can build that Rust cannot as easily build, and the market for C++ is currently super huge, so it would take a very long time. But I think as older applications fade away and new ones are being created in Rust, the market share of Rust is going to increase, and I think the general target for Rust is similar to that of C++, in that you could likely use Rust instead of C++ for many applications. So I think it is definitely something to consider. I would say at the current point in time, there is a larger market for C++. So for example, if you want to get into game development, probably going with Unreal and C++ is the way to go. But if you are considering, hey, I want to future-proof my skills and I want to kind of be on the more cutting edge, then I would definitely consider Rust as well. And here's an idea. What if you learned both of them? I know it's wild, but personally, what's helped me learn languages is to actually learn how certain ones are different. What's the difference between two languages? That actually helps you understand the language at a much deeper level. I will say Rust has been the top for the Stack Overflow survey for the most loved language, and it's on its 7th year as the most loved language. That's kind of insane. So I definitely think there is a large future for Rust, and if I was starting fresh, I would honestly consider just starting with Rust. But I already have C and C++ skills that I want to improve on. And I personally, being someone who's, fairly involved in coding, I want to be familiar with both C++ and Rust. So it really depends on you and your scenario. If you're just wanting to learn code and just want to pick a language and, spend a little bit of time with it, then yeah, maybe try Rust, see what you can do with it. But if you want to seriously get involved in code and learn everything you can, I would recommend learning C++ or learning C++ and Rust. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. This is very subjective and really depends on your personal situation. So let me know what you decided and why. Again, wanted to mention, if you want to get on my newsletter to be updated on new content and upcoming courses like the C++ course, and maybe a Rust course down the road, definitely get on that newsletter. I've been trying to send it out every week where I give links to any of my major resources like my YouTube videos and other things I am working on. So definitely a great way to stay up to date with what is going on for my channel, and would appreciate you getting on that newsletter. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.